On a world grown quiet, where civilization has stalled and fallen to the winds of war and time, where echoes of the past whisper through the winds as fireside stories, distant tales and myths of a once prosperous world teeming with life and culture. Before the gods vanished and the world fell to ruin, centuries of harsh survival followed its ruin until Sanctuary was founded. Oakheart. Our tale begins in Oakheart, a small town hiding in a valley, isolated from the outside world. To their knowledge, they are the last civilized society in the world. They were told not to leave the walls by the ruling theocracy who founded the city. With their unheard of god Nilan, the three would speak of Nilan as a great protector and the true founder of the haven of Oakheart. For centuries, Oakheart stood, unchanging, but as time went on, Nilan grew more demanding, to the point where month after month, Nilan demanded sacrifice. So every month, a person would be thrown on the pyre. Discontent was inevitable, as loved ones were plucked and burned like clockwork, but it never rose to rebellion. That was, until it did. On the outskirts of town, in a tavern, thoughts of what if spread like wildfire beneath the floorboards. The people had had enough. Rebellion had begun to gather, and near the top of this growing rebel force was Dartha, an elvish monk driven by her mother's death and her brother's betrayal. She was not the only one who grew tired of this rule. A turtle barbarian named Orin, heir to a legacy of champions, ostracized from his society and left to work the farms with his family. A half-elvish sorcerer named Sigurd, touched by the powers of thunderous might. Each has their own cause to push and fight against the status quo, and so they pushed back. And it wasn't long until their pushback was noticed by the three elven siblings who ruled the city. The party began unraveling the mysteries behind this town, as they weren't the only ones causing commotion. A mysterious necromancer was living amongst the people, one who wished to make the people his weapon against the ruling kingdom. While pursuing this necromancer and what he knows, they came across his lair, where they found his belongings, one such item being a black book. It wasn't long after that they were threatened and forced to return the book to the necromancer. In pursuit of a lead to save their fallen friend Thomas, the party left town toward an old abandoned town in the woods called the Blightwood. A local hunter mentioned an entity that lives out there that may be able to bring Thomas back to life. Just before their arrival, they bumped into Edme, a pale girl who hailed from Blightwood, and so the party followed her home. But little did they know she wished to join the party on this venture. After meeting this entity, whom was Edme's aunt, a deal was struck. In exchange for the return of Thomas, they must return to her a black tome that was stolen from her. Upon their return home, they quickly found all of their loved ones, and everyone in the town had forgotten about the party's existence. A strange amnesia had come over home. Couples who had never been together but a week before were now married, and a swath of people were missing, and no one cared. Each member was missing a loved one from home. This was when it became evident that things were very strange. They panicked, they plotted secretly in the woods until they found a lead that led them to a nearby potion shop. Waiting for them within this potion shop was none other than the necromancer himself. He went by the name of Noro, and he had forgotten his twisted ways before falling under the same amnesia as the rest of the town. He greeted the party as they noticed sitting on his shelf a potion with a note. He drank said potion and his amnesia was erased. Upon his memories coming back, he realized his mother had been kidnapped. The party decided whatever issues they had, they would now have to put them on hold, as he knew the cure to the amnesia, and their interests were aligned. Now partnered with Noro, they left town in search of ingredients for a large batch of this potion. A plot was formulated to brew a massive batch in the town's water supply, and for that to work, they needed a lot of ingredients. Noro spoke of a field of flowers that were rich in magic, that rest upon a plateau that sits atop nearby mountains. And so the party climbed. They ascended the mountain and came face to face with the field of flowers and a beautiful old abandoned resort. Curious, the party investigated the building and found it was filled with creatures and relics of the old world. Technology such as electricity and computers. A mystery wrapped in madness unraveled as they uncovered 229 years prior. A party was held here in celebration of some Unity holiday. Only this party was the beginning of the end. An obelisk of black found its way into the resort transit center, driving its inhabitants mad and eventually turning them into eyeless creatures. The party fought through and defeated the obelisk and its avatar, opening the transit station to Oakheart. However, Sigurd touched this obelisk and found himself connected to some entity beyond. It was here that the party met Oswin, a survivor turtle who fled a nearby city. called Huensville. The party quickly realized how identical the situation was with his town, promising to help him if he helps them. He joined the party and they ventured back to Oakheart. As preparations for the assault were commencing, various encounters with the guards left the parties curious about the nature of the ruling class. They were suddenly ambushed by devils in guard attire, equipped with guns. They survived the encounter and took the fight to the devils. They created a potion and woke the town from their amnesia. Riots broke out as the city turned toward the castle. Right before the gate was about to come down, Dartha's brother Calgan appeared from the crowd, a former ally of Noro. He told them their family is down below and they have to get there quickly. As Sigurd knocked on the gate, causing it to unlock and open, the crowd rushed into the center of the chamber as the devils began unloading their assault rifles into the crowd. Shocked by this technology and its damage, most of the crowd retreated while the party fought on, and the battle was won. Clearing most of the castle, they marched downstairs where they found a strange room of white tiles and tall glass tubes that their loved ones were floating within. A battle commenced in this chamber as the party evacuated their loved ones. However, Calgan sacrificed himself to hold back the enemy while the party escaped. He looked back as he slowly turned into some purple-skinned creature. It became apparent in this moment that Noro and Calgan were lovers, and while the party was in celebration of recovering their loved ones, Noro was without his mother or his lover. Distracted by the issues at hand, the party continued clearing the castle, while Noro left. Once confronting the horned devil Kruger who ruled this facility, he fled, vanishing back into the hells as the castle began to cave in. As rising from below the castle, a large black flying saucer lifted out of the ground and flew away over the mountains. In the process of rebuilding, much political discourse was had. Alone and depressed, Noro found himself on the other side of the political aisle from the party, and so a brutal smear campaign was set in motion to ruin Noro's reputation. A week passed, and the party, having won the political battle, set off to Oswin's home of Huensville, leaving Noro home in Oakheart. While the party was aware of Noro's possession of the book they required, they felt it unnecessary to retrieve it. During the party's travel, Noro began diving into this dark ancient tome in search of a way to bring his mother back to life. But the more he read, the more he began to lose himself. A foul entity who was bound to the pages slowly leached onto Noro's sorrow, twisting him and corrupting him. The party, leaving their home valley for the first time, set off to Oswin's home. They stumbled upon a broken land that was poisoned by invisible magic from a battle long, long ago, but they noticed a tall, four-legged machine standing in the center of this radioactive bog. Fending off the dangerous conditions of the area and gathering some mutations along the way, they found their way to the CBCP, an old 200-foot-tall, four-legged tank of the old world. The party spent a while in the swamp scavenging old military equipment until they finally got this vessel up and running, along with another smaller one. Aboard this vessel was an onboard AI system called Omega, who helped serve the captain to maintain the vessel and maximize efficiency. The party marched these vehicles to Huensville, where a similar operation was happening. The party began to understand the plan at work as they destroyed the same operation of disguised devils here. These cities are raised and told never to leave, and every 10 to 15 years their minds would be altered, and the crowd would be culled and harvested, where they would extract the souls of the victims and transfer them into a growing devil's economy, while the bodies are taken away by some third party yet to be understood. The party began setting off for home as they caught word that a devil raiding party was on its way back to Oakheart to reclaim it. Along the way back, Edmé and Sigurd began hearing Noro's voice reading a dark text in the back of their minds, bound by some mark they both wore given to them by some obelisk. One night a vision came to them both of a grand ritual being commenced by Noro through the book. He showed them a demon lord who could rule legions of undead. He showed him controlled and imprisoned by devils using a bizarre technology. Noro destroyed the technology, freeing the demon lord and unleashing undead legions of once controlled armies against their former masters. The party rushed home to Oakheart to confront Noro before he takes things too far. They climbed over the mountain range and made their way home. The town had formed a militia and was rising to the challenge to defend their home. Unable to locate Noro, the party opted to prepare the town, and for 4 days they prepared for siege. Siege came as a raiding party of devils arrived and lit fire to the walls, but the party was prepared with grenade-throwing hasted giant apes laying heavy artillery on the enemy ranks. The wall was almost lost until Noro appeared and annihilated a large swath of the devil forces. Forced to retreat, the devils fled before being picked off by the people of Oakheart. A tense battle was had between the party and Kruger that ended in his vanquishing, until the party moved to confront Noro. He was gaunt and twisted, he felt unlike Noro, and spoke of a deity named the Shackled King, a god who's promising all of the power required to reclaim our home. our whole home. The town having their own new deity, Cernara, the party was quick to shut his talk down, but an invite to the people was admitted nonetheless, to meet him at the cemetery temple, and all will be made whole. He fled to the temple, awaiting any whom seek to follow. The party was quick to confront him, gathering their closest allies and making their way to the temple, where a fight for their lives was had. An entity, the author of the book, had taken over Noro and sought to bring forth more servants of the shackled king. Knowing this needed to end, the party engaged with this lich-like entity in a long-winded battle that left the temple destroyed. So intense and important, even Cernara had to intervene, healing the party with the golden light of her power. Artha wanted so desperately to save Noro, but he was a broken soul taken over by this author. After his defeat, the party, realizing the corrupted nature of the book, mourned their friend Noro and set off to return the book to Edme's aunt in Blightwood, where Noro had stolen the book. The party set off in their machines and began to venture off into the world, still masked in many mysteries. Can the world be fixed? Who is this third party? And what ended the world?